Ladies and gentlemen, fellow golf enthusiasts, welcome back to the Matt Fryer podcast. We've got myself, Matt, and we've got Tom with us. How the devil are we, sir?
I'm very good, mate. How are you? That was a very cheery introduction.
Yeah, I'm super happy because it's absolutely tipping it down outside because we're in England and the
Yep.
golf season is done.
No, it's not. You're playing golf this afternoon. You're filming.
I am. Very true. Very true. Hopefully the monsoon moves away.
You're
Because
driving north. You'll be all right by then.
yeah, it's always drier up north, isn't it? That's what they say. So off filming. Have you had a good week?
Yeah, very good. Busy coaching weekend. Not too much golf for me, but coaching. Cousin's birthday at the weekend, so very good time all in all.
Nice.
Yourself?
Yeah, played quite a lot of golf last week. Played a charity day. Filmed 2 in the Reds, I think, last week. Hit some balls, did some practice, like without a camera and everything.
Player, how you getting on?
It's not far away. There's a couple of things. I'll just give us a little running order. Interesting that you said coaching, because that is going to be the theme of today's podcast. We are talking what a good golf lesson actually looks like. I think it can be a little bit of a minefield, a daunting one, a thing I think a lot of golfers avoid.
Yeah.
Because it can be a little bit scary sometimes. So we're going to get stuck into what a good golf lesson would look like, sort of the ins and outs of it, and give you sort of a running guide as to going to get one, what you should look for, and how it goes.
And you're currently looking for some golf lessons yourself, aren't you? So that's
I made a
good thing
statement,
for you.
on one of the in the Reds that was shot the other week that I'm going to sack my dad as my coach. The video I don't think's gone out yet, so he does listen to each podcast as well. So sorry, Dad. I have texted him for another coach's number, which he did give to me.
Oh.
So yeah,
That's got to be painful.
and it'll be interesting. One of the questions, and as we go through it, we've got that. Me talking a little bit about that. What a good golf lesson looks like. The President's Cup. I want to chat on that a little bit. I've got some very, very mixed feelings on that. Then we're going to do overrated, underrated, the best section on any golf podcast in the world, and finish off with some listeners' questions. We've got quite a few questions this week. We'll blast through them, but if you don't already, do make sure you are following all our socials. The Matt Fryer Golf Podcast on Instagram. We're just in the middle of setting up the Facebook community, or whatever it's called. We're just going through that at the minute. And also info@mattfryergolf.co.uk if you want to email us if you're not on any form of social media, which I know quite a few people are trending towards a little bit nowadays.
We do like all questions golf related, but I think what we're seeing straight away is when we put a post out for coaching questions in particular, when we say we're doing a coaching podcast or an advice podcast, we get a lot more traffic coming through. So that maybe that's the main thing our listeners want.
Yeah, advice, how to play better golf. We all want to do that, don't we? So, yeah, and even if it's overrated or underrated, anything you want to send, just bash them in there, put them in the comments on the YouTube video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. And, keep in touch. We want to keep growing. We're ticking over quite nicely, I think. For how long have we done this now? Is this our 20th episode?
We'll be 19, I think.
Is it?
19.
I think it's 20.
Okay.
We'll have a fight outside later. Okay, right. Well, on the note of that, I am looking for a new coach. And the only reason I think I'm looking for a new coach is I want a fresh feeling.
That's fair.
Do you ever get that? You don't really have golf lessons anymore, do you?
No,
There's no hope for you.
I kind of see. I never look at, not in depth. I don't look at my own golf swing too much because I start looking for aesthetically pleasing sort of stuff in your golf swing rather than the practical stuff. So try and avoid it. I'll often look for, as you say there, I like someone to give me a little bit of a feeling. Say this looks good. Can you feel this? If I like that feeling, if I like that thought, I'm happy to go away and experiment. And I think we will talk about this a little bit later on. I think a big mistake from students is they're not willing to go and experiment enough. They kind of want to be told what to do, and that's the only way.
Yeah, and have it work.
Rather than try and put their own little spin on it, or even be open to say, that doesn't feel good, or it does feel good, and move on from there. But like I say, we'll sort of go into some mistakes that people make a little bit later on, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It is interesting because I mean, I've had my dad as my coach now for, God, what am I now? I'm 37, so I would say probably 24, 25, 20, 23 maybe,
Okay.
probably 15 years.
A long time.
Yeah, realistically, more than I've played golf since I was 16, so
Yeah.
21 years, and he's probably been my coach for probably over half of it.
Yeah.
Did have some other people. I've only had 4 coaches in my 1, 2, 3 coaches in my life.
Yeah.
Been to the odd lesson here and there, but I think I just want something because I go on to, especially with driver at the minute, I can hit 3-wood fine, and then I get driver out and I hit some brilliant drives, and then I'll change my thing, and then like we had a lesson with Dad the other week, and it's like, try this, and I'm like, yeah, do a little bit of that, but I think I want, like, I work well with if like I'm given a drill, and it's like, right, do this drill and you'll gain this feeling, and then this will be the ball flight it produces.
And where would you say a conversation with your dad differs from that?
I don't know, because very much what we do with Dad, and it's always good stuff, and it does get me hitting it nicely, but it's always very similar stuff because he sort of knows my golf swing, and he knows, how it used to, like where it was historically to where it is now, what I'm always battling. It's not as if it's chopping and changing always. It's always very similar stuff. So I want, maybe we do the same sort of things, but I want something that is maybe the same thing, just packaged differently.
Okay.
So it's sort of a different mindset, because it's easy for me to go, right, I'm doing that again, right, okay, I'm still at the same shot now. And yes, I need to do more work myself on it and work harder on it, limited time. But I think if sometimes, like, he gave me a feeling maybe a year or so ago that was relatively new, sort of, like, say, packaged a little bit differently. And it was like, oh, that's something. And like, I hit it really, really good.
Yeah.
But I've not had that for a while, so I don't want something like we need to totally rebuild your golf swing,
but something fresh.
Yeah, I just want like something a little bit different to go, okay, well, we're still, like, I'd like to get back to hitting maybe a fade with driver, but I get too across it and I get too open with the face, and yeah, it's interesting. But then I'm like, and this is what led me to this sort of podcast, I've looked round and I'm like, who do I go to?
Yeah, okay, that's fair. So interesting point on that. Just thinking, what are your thoughts on somebody who changes coaches? Do you think it's something you should do quite a lot? Do you think you should maybe go as far down the line as you have, which is 12, 13 years or a long period of time before you do change? Do you think you should give everybody a chance? I'm not talking about Man United's managers here. I'm talking about a golf coach. We could have the same conversation about United managers.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think is the right thing to do? And I suppose you've got to build trust, but
yeah, I think you need a coach who will, if you're chopping and changing. I think a good example of this in the pro format would be a Victor Hovland. Found success with someone like a Joe Mayo, and it also comes down to your character as well. He's like a deep thinker, wants to go and study things himself, would always watch swings on YouTube and say, right, this is what my golf swing does. And he'll go and try and build a golf swing, and then like, okay, well, I like a little bit of his golf swing, I like a little bit of his method, I like what he's teaching, and then you get too many cooks spoil the broth. And I think if you're I used to see it with some students when I was coaching full time. It would be, I'll have a lesson with Matt. Oh, right, okay, I'll go and play well this week. Right, I didn't play next week. Right, I'll go and see that coach. Go see that coach, and they do a full circle. They end up back at your door, and it's like, all right, okay, stick with you for 6 months, goes well. Has one bad round, or right, okay, I'm changing. And I think if you're chopping and changing like that, like you say, it's a little bit like football managers. If you've got no consistency, because what I tell someone, unless you're say a stack and tilt teacher, and you are saying this is how you swing the golf club, whether you are person A, B, or C, you will all swing it in this method. You're not going to get the same information all the time. Someone might look and go, okay, we need to look at how you're releasing it a little bit more. Someone say, all right, we need to work on your pivot. Someone say, right, we need to work on your club path. So you'll be getting a multitude of different inputs, maybe working towards the same thing, but you've got so much going on that you won't find any consistency as well. If you stick, like, obviously I've stuck with Dad for however long it is, it's easy and helpful that he's my dad and he's one of the best coaches in the north of England. So I can just sort of text and go, have you got any space later? Yeah, sound in. But my dad's had people going to him since my dad's 63, I think now. He's had people going to him since he was 21 from Chorley, like, so 42 years people have been seeing him for lessons, repeat like the same, because he knows their golf swing a bit like mine, knows what they're doing. They might go and have a bit like I'll probably do, go and have a few lessons with a certain coach and then go back and say, okay, what do you think of like what we're doing here? And he'll go, yeah.
I think that can be from me being a coach as well, from a coach's perspective. I think that can open the coach's eyes a little bit as well, because I'm sure there are coaches out there who look at golf swings, and this isn't to say that your dad's maybe got lazy with yours, but he's seen it that many times that he's got his tunnel vision with your swing.
Yeah, he knows
if
what
you
we
come
want.
back with a few other feelings or ideas, he's got plenty of knowledge in there that'll spark a new direction for him, and he'll say, okay, well, if you like that direction, we'll go down it.
Yeah, I would definitely say, when you are looking for a coach, you've got to stick. You've got to give them a fair run, haven't you?
Yep.
Because it takes time as well, and you've also got to be honest with yourself. Have you gone away and done the work? Have you gone and hit as many balls as you should have? Have you played enough rounds under competition stress and felt that you've actually done what you were working on out there, or have you reverted back and just then blame it? So. Yeah, it is interesting, but
so what does a good golf lesson look like then?
Yeah, so I think I was looking at it, and I think if we were to determine what a good golf lesson looks like, I sort of got a sort of 5-stage process that I think you'll probably agree with.
Yeah.
And obviously we came from Trafford, or you're still at Trafford Golf Centre. I taught there for 4 or 5 years, and we're very much in a similar sort of mould now. To caveat all this, obviously, the thing with golf coaching in England as well, and in every country, golf coaches are business people. So you have to sell lessons. You've got a mortgage to pay, so you will want to sell lessons. But I think you can get some coaches that sometimes are a little bit too pushy, and will right, no, you can't do it. Like, won't give you anything until you get a package. So just be aware of that as we're going through. But like I say, they are businesses, and we all need to make the moolah, Thomas.
We do.
So first thing, finding a coach.
Okay.
How do we find a good golf coach, Tom? There's 2 things I would only rely on for this.
Okay. I think number 1 is you probably got to know what you're looking for first. So before going external and trying to choose a coach, understand kind of yourself first of all. Know whether are you a numbers driven guy, a data driven guy?
Yeah.
Are you a sort of artistic player, feels and sort of analogies, kind of get an idea for what you prefer.
Okay.
I've taught people in the past who like to feel and the position of the left wrist, and they like to see the numbers on the flight scope that relate to it. I've taught plenty of people who in the backswing want to feel like they're just trying to throw a bucket of water over the right shoulder, and then they see the ball flight change.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So I think first of all is know what you want, and then go and sort of seek that sort of coach.
Yeah, you got to match your character to it. Yeah, I agree with that. What if you're a new golfer, or you're a high handicapper and you don't really understand too much about that stuff? Where would you go down then? You sort of think, well, I need some golf lessons because I need to get better. But what do I do? Like, who do I go and see?
I think the obvious one now seems to be social media, doesn't it? You get to see communication styles. You get to see the way somebody will talk to you, maybe the way they'll explain it. Are they getting really technical? Are they really basic?
Yeah.
Are they using language like left hand or lead hand? I know that sounds obvious, but lead hand can feel a little bit fluffy to some people if they're new to golf.
Yeah.
If you say left hand, everyone knows what you're talking
flexed,
about.
Extended,
exactly.
bowed, cupped.
You can talk very technical, and you can find that communication style through the means of social media now, whether that's Instagram videos, TikTok videos, YouTube, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and I think that sort of goes back to your first point, doesn't it? Like, if you know what you're looking for, if you say, I've been really, like, I used to get people who come to me who were off 20 and wanted to know every single inch of their TrackMan data. Yeah. You think, but if that's if that's how their brain computes, a lot of them were accountants and stuff like that, funnily enough. But you'll sort of meet that from that social media aspect, won't you? You'll be able to see what they're saying, and you'll tell whether that's for you straight away.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, there's, it seems a little bit simple, this, or, they're not, have they shown, any foresight numbers? Have they shown any, hack motion data? Have they got a force plate? Have they got that? Because I think, obviously, as time has gone on, technology is a huge thing now, but then it's how people convey that to the student as well. Is there anything else you would look for from, in your search? Any other ways of maybe discovering your coach?
I think just in terms of, again, what exactly you're looking for, I'd be tracking back if I do find that social media and seeing, are we communicating the same thing to every golfer?
Yeah.
The method sort of teaching, as you mentioned before.
Yeah.
Or are we seeing them communicate different things to different people? Personally, I don't think one style fits everybody.
No.
But some people do, like you say, that there are some coaches out there who just go with stack and tilt or tell everybody to create the backswing in the same way. And if you feel like you look at that swing and you want to model that swing and their Instagram is piled with the same sort of looking golfer, then go for it if you feel like that's what you want to make. If you see somebody who is translating different information to people, and I seen a funny comment actually on one of the videos the other day that said, I've just watched one golf lesson that told me to start with the lower body and transition my weight first, and one that told me to start with my arms first and drop them down behind me. They can't both be correct. And I think that fully depends on who's standing in front of you again and what you're trying to do. So if you're somebody who'll maybe get overwhelmed or confused by, let's call them conflicting bits of information, you might be better with a method coach because it's one simple bit of information. Stick to that book, stick to the instruction book, and you go from there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What else are you looking for, Matt?
I'm thinking word of mouth. Obviously, there's a lot of golfers out there that may not even be on social media that think, Facebook, Instagram, can't be bothered with that. Some great coaches now don't do it. I think from our generation, if you sort of drew a line in the sand at sort of where me, Rick, Pete are around that age of 40, just under 40, we really adopted social media early, got into it, realised it was going to be a key part of the business. As where some coaches maybe over that age of 40 have probably established themselves as coaches already, maybe don't have the time because they're already fully booked to do it. So it could be another one. Just asking your people that you play with, are you having lessons? Who are you seeing? What do you like about that coach? How do they? And it'd be very much what you're looking for when you go on socials. How do they speak to you? Do they speak to you in a scientific manner? Do they make it easy? Even things like, do they do group lessons? This what we're talking about here. You might be someone who's thinking, well, I want to go and have a lesson, but I'm too intimidated to go on my own. I might just want to get in with a group of people that are at the same stage of me. So asking your friends, that you play golf with, or people around the club or wherever you are, whether you're at the driving range, who's the best one here? Who's the best coach here? Why is he the best coach, or why is she the best coach? Might be that, you're a lady looking for another lady coach. Who do you go and see and finding it in that way? I think those are the two sources that if we're looking for our coach, that would be my first point of call. You'll get to know them, understand what they're about, see if you're a good match. I had literally people come at Trafford because they knew I was a United fan.
Yeah.
And you'll have probably Liverpool fans come to you, or you might not have an Evertonian fan because of things like that.
A huge part of a golf lesson as well is the relationship that you can build.
100%.
So the 5-minute chat about the footy at the weekend just builds that little bit of relationship between you both, and it makes the student more comfortable to be open with you.
Yeah.
If you've got a relationship about talking about going to the pub at the weekend, talking about the football, chatting about sort of personal life a little bit more, then if the coach says something you don't like, you're more likely to tell them.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're standing there and you've got no relationship and it's robotic and you don't like a feeling, you won't challenge you. And that's no good for the coach in the direction they want to take you. It's no good for you in the direction you want your golf to go. And that relationship kind of ends quite quickly, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's just, it's a good way. I had someone stop me in a shop last night who was a subscriber to the channel, just walking around looking at some shoes. Oh my God, it's you. Stood there for 15, 20 minutes because I've got that relationship already. And, I'm really struggling with my irons. Okay. Do you want a lesson here now? Or but that is just it straight away, isn't it? Yeah. Opens you up to what they're about. So you you found your coach, you've picked one, you've ended up with Tom Fearon. Best of luck, best of luck, everyone. I'm going for my first lesson. What should I be looking for when I'm coming to that first lesson? I think a lot of people walk in and just sort of go, especially at a driving range.
Yeah,
just want to be a driver. But,
yeah, that's fair.
But what should we look for in our first port of call?
Again, the first thing I'm going to do here is sort of put everything onto the student. You've got to prepare for the golf lesson you're going for.
Yeah.
If I was going for a massage because I've got a bad right shoulder, don't walk in and say nothing, and 45 minutes in, when you've only had your legs massaged, complain. You've got to go and
shoulder's still hurting.
Good communication, know exactly what you're going for, have a small analysis of your game.
Yeah.
Come in and say, this is exactly what I'm doing. If you need it written down, if you need notes in your phone, if you've got screenshots of scorecards, or a really good one, I had somebody come in with 3 killer holes that they just can't get by on their golf course.
Yeah.
And they had screenshots of Google Maps of that hole, and they were the same shape. They were all dog-leg rights. Straight away, your golf coach has got a really good picture of what your problem is. So, introduction-wise, if the student can sort of introduce their game properly, the coach can really help them properly.
Yeah, I think it's going prepared, isn't it? Like you say there, with the what it's a bit like going to the doctors, isn't it? What's your problem? What do we need fixing?
Yeah.
Got a bad foot, got a bad leg, whatever it may be. Okay, well, do you do anything? Do you do a lot of running? Yeah, I do loads of running. Okay, right. We need to look at that then. And I think that's right. And I think if you went into a lesson, it was like, put your bag down, get your 7-iron out, let's just start hitting, and they've not asked you a question yet, be a bit of a red flag straight away.
Yeah, that was going to be my first thing from what the student should then look for from the coach is a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And probably in the first lesson, an overwhelming amount of questions. It should be, where do you play? And hopefully the coach has a little bit of knowledge about that course. Or is it Parkland? Is it links? Because that leads into what ball flight you might desire.
Yeah.
You then talk into sort of what sort of rating do you give each part of your game. The coach really needs to ask a load of open questions. And then if the student hasn't walked in and painted the picture for the coach needs to try and create that picture themselves so that it can go it can trend in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. And I think good word you use there, the open questions. If they're just asking you yes and no's.
Is your putting good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. It's all right. Yeah. It's all right. Yeah. Yeah. Not bad. You'll never really get the most out of it. So it is. The onus is mainly on the coach to be a good communicator and ask the right questions to garner the right information. But if you are forthcoming with it, that's going to help. I think one thing that I always found made a better student than, say, someone who was in and out, never came back sort of thing, and was just like, fix me now, was like the eagerness to hit golf balls. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, first lesson. And I think one thing to caveat all this as well, I look at golf lessons as a diet. Like, if I said to you now, I want to lose a stone, I wouldn't do it by tomorrow.
No.
Unless I chopped a limb off. Just not happening.
Yeah. No.
And it's the same with a golf swing. Right, I've got a slice. I want to fix it. Okay, well, you've made, let's call it 10,000 swings with your slice swing already. We've now got to do another 10,000.
You've got to break a habit.
Yeah, exactly. So I always thought like the better lessons that I got was someone who's, the conversation was really well, the questions were nice and open, we got loads of information. Yes, you're hitting a few balls, loosening up whilst you're asking these questions, but it's not like, right, okay, what we doing? Okay, I've got a slice, fix it.
Yeah.
It needs to be, okay, well, all these questions are helping, like you've just said, paint a picture. Well, you're a links player, right? You're probably going to be a little bit steeper maybe because you're trying to trap it a little bit more, or you're brushing it off some higher grass, whatever it may be. So I think, go into that first lesson not expecting it to be maybe as hitting centric as maybe the second lesson. You'll really get into the meat, hopefully, in 2, 3, 4, 5 lessons as well. That first one, it's more of a, let's find out where we are. It's the exploration, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think we could take that back to what you said at the start of sort of golf lessons and golf coaches are a business. You also can't take it too much or too personal that if you have only hit 25 or 30 balls in your first lesson and there was a lot of information and a lot of fluffiness and a lot of conversation, that's not the coach withholding information half the time.
No,
like you say, there might be the odd few withholding information.
Yeah.
But the coach has got to be able to do a good job, needs to be able to see your swing, more importantly, and the hardest part from my point of view, I think, is getting insight into the player's mind.
Yeah.
Because you could be thinking about doing something completely different to what it looks like to me. I've got to get that information out to you first before I'm trying to create a plan.
Yeah.
And it can take me 35, 40 minutes sometimes to create a plan by the time we've chatted for 15 minutes at the start.
Yeah.
Then I've let you warm up for a few shots, and your first few were a bit shaky because you were nervous anyway. I don't normally do that. I don't normally shank it. Okay, we'll
normally flush it.
Get them out. Yeah, don't worry about it. Get your bad shots out. Get your warm up done. And then we're starting to dissect the swing, dissect the game. It's not a quick process of come in, tell me you always hit it right, and we'll fix it. Now, it can be. There's some lessons like that, but it's not just a case of fix me now, like you said before.
I think that would be, again, like another thing where it's almost upon you, as you go in as the student as well, to go, I'm only here for one lesson. I've got a golf day on Thursday. Because, like you say, businesses, and you might be thinking, okay, well, this person, the way they've spoke to me, they're looking like they want a period of improvement. They want to spend 3, 6, 9, 12 months, whatever it may be. And I'm going to build a plan as to what we need to do. I've identified this area with your chipping that you need to work on. You need to do this with your driver, this with your irons. Okay, that's probably going to take us X amount of months. As where if you walk in and go, I've got a golf day on Friday, I need to stop topping it. That's a very different lesson.
Different.
That's just like a Band-Aid on a real problem that you have and go, okay, it'll work for then, but you're still going to come back to that problem in the next week, month, whatever it may be, and you'll probably be back here again. And if you want the same Band-Aid, we're just going to go on this merry-go-round for the next 2 years until you actually sit down and go, oh, do you know what, I've got a problem.
Yeah. So again, it comes
like
back to really good communication from the student as well, doesn't it? Just make sure you go in with a plan. Make sure you go in with honesty. If you are only going in for one lesson, don't let the coach be 40 minutes into the lesson and not have given you information yet, because the coach with the best intention is trying to make a plan for you. And if your plan is to not top it on Friday, then it's a different conversation. So yeah, you're completely right with that. So we've got meeting the start of the lesson. We want good introduction pretty much from both, don't we? We're asking for good communication from both sides, both coach and student, and don't rush through it. Like you say, it's not just a case of grab a 7-iron, start swinging,
start whacking.
There's a lot more to it. So go on, what are you going to ask?
I was going to say, during the lesson then, what would you say sort of, even, so let's say it's not the first lesson, it's 2 or 3 lessons in, what would a good golf lesson look like?
To me, I've always sort of thought of it like in a sense, it's like a story. There's a start to a lesson, there's a middle to a lesson, and then there's an end to a lesson. Yeah. And I think it doesn't matter whether you're on lesson 25, the start of that lesson still needs to be a debrief of your game. Yeah. A debrief of how everything's feeling. Do you feel like you're trending in the right direction? Do you feel like you've lost a little bit of feeling? What's the handicap looking like? Show me a screenshot of your handicap system. Everything about your game again.
What are you noticing?
Yeah. Again, as you get more experienced in lessons, you'll probably get better at communicating that stuff as well at the start of your lesson. And that might not anymore, like say 20 lessons in, that might come with a sit down chat for 10 minutes. That might be happening while you're hitting a few wedges to the flag. And if I walk in for a lesson with you, we're not going to sit down like this talk, and I'm going to start just clipping a few wedges or a 7-iron, and you're asking me questions, and I'm being able to respond. So it doesn't need to look so formal every time. But yeah, and then you've got your middle section where you really break a few things down and you make a plan. And then the end is a case of this is what you now need to go and do, and making sure that the student understands what's going on. Again, not a closed question of do you understand what we're doing? Yeah. The student will go, yes.
Yes.
And that's it.
Not a clue.
Rather than, can you explain back to me what we're trying to do? Can you demonstrate really slowly what we're trying to do? And there's your end where the coach is making sure that you know the direction you're going.
Yeah, definitely. I always used to like the question of like, okay, what's your big takeaway from today then? So even you may have sort of given 2 or 3 pieces of information, but if they've
told you a 4th that you didn't talk about.
Yeah, what you on about, like? But you go, what's your big takeaway? And okay, and you can see that they've, the students got that. So I think you're definitely right there with that story. In terms of like drills, feelings, again, is this coming down to communication? I give you a drill, you're finding it too hard, or you just don't resonate with it. What happens then? Is it a case of, well, this is what the coach knows, shut up and get on with it, or? Is it that conversation of, I'm not quite sure on this?
Again, I think there's two sides to that. I think part of it is a student can be not sure, but I think not sure can translate to sometimes uncomfortable. And we've got to be uncomfortable. We've got to be uncomfortable when we make a change.
Yeah.
So at times, students got to be able to give it a chance. And I think whenever you go for golf lessons, it doesn't matter what level of golfer you are, like you said before, you've got to give it a bit of a chance. You can't try it once and say, I don't like this. But there are also 3 or 4 different ways, 5 different ways to communicate the same feeling.
Yes.
So you might not like having a ball between your arms and taking the club away. It might feel too restrictive, but with an analogy, you prefer that.
Yeah.
And again, I think that comes with you knowing yourself and trying to find that coach that suits you and saying to a coach, can you explain that in a different way? Is there a different way we can do this? Is this necessary to try and get the ball flight we're trying to get?
Yeah.
Always, by the way, it's just come to my mind, always remember what you're there for. You're there to try and change your ball flight.
Yeah.
That's it.
That was going to be my...
we're trying to change the ball flight.
That was my red herring question
Was it?
for you. Yeah.
Okay.
You've ruined it, Tom.
Spoiled everything. Well, that was good feedback.
That was, big echoes then, wasn't it? Sorry, everyone.
We're there to change a ball flight and play better golf.
Yeah.
We're not there to look a specific way, which is what I said before. I don't look at my swing a huge amount because that's what I start to do. I start to change the way my swing looks rather than the way it makes the ball react.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, definitely. I think that's, a huge thing, finding that sort of, that process of the story during the lesson, like, okay, well, what are we, it might be that you are on a journey to change that backswing, like Tom said, you've sort of decided that you're going to go there for 3 months and you had a really inside takeaway, let's say, and then you were chucking it over the top and Tom said, well, we need to get you a little bit more on plane on the way back, okay. And the first lesson, we were just talking about sort of halfway back, quarter way back to halfway back. We're not got all the way up to the top yet. That second lesson, it might be, okay, how's that feeling? Let's move on. Or it might be a case of, well, what have you seen out on the golf course? What's happening? So then you've got the middle of trying to fix it and then the end of, okay, let's summarise where we're at with it. And I think, like I say, red flags to look for me, that first one that you've just mentioned there. If a golf coach ever starts a lesson and they've not seen you hit a golf ball and they're starting to make changes, I'd be tempted to walk out.
Yeah, that's a nonsense.
Like if they haven't looked at your ball flight, huge, like game over.
Yeah.
Because the ball flight tells us a story. Everything that we see from a launch monitor now, we can already see with our eyes.
Yeah.
We can hear it as well. Like people used to say to me when you beat at the range and hitting a shot, I'd go, oh, fat that, wasn't it? And I'd have my back turned. You just turn to go and walk to the computer or something. Oh, a bit fat that, wasn't it? How do you know that? It's like, well, it sounded different.
Yeah.
And there'd be sort of these little breadcrumbs that if you're seeing that the coach isn't picking up on those, I'd be questioning that coach.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you go to a lesson for feedback, don't you? That's the main reason. You go to a lesson, you think, I need feedback from somebody who hopefully knows what they're talking about. And when I mentioned experimentation before, a lot of the times I've spent full lessons with people trying to teach them how to get feedback themselves.
Oh yeah, awareness, like awareness of what you're doing.
Yeah. What's the most obvious bit of feedback you've got? Well, what's your ball done? Yeah. Your ball's gone trickling across the floor and left a little indent just in front of the tee. Then your feedback is you've topped it.
Yeah.
If it's felt like a bit tinny through the club, if you've had the vibrations up the shaft, it's probably at the perimeter of the club. Whatever it is that's happening, have you heard the mat be hit first or the grass be hit first? What direction's your divot going if you're lucky enough to practice on some grass?
Yeah.
There's so many bits of feedback you can get yourself.
Yeah.
Without not to sort of take away from what we do as a coach, but all of those things you can figure out with experimentation and observation, and you won't figure that out if you're standing there whack, 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 and you're pulling another ball. We've mentioned it in previous podcasts. You're pulling another ball out of the tray before that one's landed. And you've got to look for how you're gonna improve yourself.
Yeah.
With guidance of a coach. Let a coach guide you, not just tell you what to do.
Yeah. Another red herring for me would be a target. The amount of times that, people, I would let them do it to start off with. Hit a shot. Oh, it's good that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, well, maybe. Why? I hit it really well. Well, where are you hitting it to? the field.
Yeah.
Big old target, that.
The response I always get is just straight.
Yeah. Just straight. Where's straight? Straight left, straight right.
So is that a coach problem, player problem?
I think it's a little bit of both, isn't it? You could sort of go, like I've seen lessons where the coach has just gone about the change, but there's been, how do we know that you've stopped slicing it?
Need an agreement on target, don't we?
Yeah, you need something to aim at, because that's going to, again, feed back to that ball flight, isn't it? Did it start left of the target? Did it start right? Was it high to it, low to it? Did it move onto it, move off it? If you've not got that, what have we got? Because you go out there and think, I've like hitting it really well, and then you can't aim.
Yeah.
Good swinging it into the trees, pal.
Yeah, I think an awkward one on a practice facility, whether you're on a range or you're out on a practice ground, is you can turn up, throw a few balls on the floor, make 5 swings, and your ball goes towards the white flag on the right every time. 5 times in a row, you hit this shot. So you're like, well, then you choose your target. And you say, well, I'm aiming at the white flag. Well, you've chosen your target there as a result of where your first 5 golf shots went. What you haven't realised is you're aiming 40 yards left of that.
Yeah.
And then when you go to the golf course and you hit everything 40 yards right, you're confused.
Yeah.
You've got to choose your target first. Every golf shot needs to have an intention of a target before you even think about swinging it.
Yeah, because that's going to dictate the swing you're going to put onto it, isn't it? That's one thing I hated about Trafford.
What was that?
Being upstairs, you couldn't put a pole in the ground. When I used to coach on a grass field, it was literally like 6 paces out, alignment cane out in front of us.
Yeah.
And it was like, from a coach's standpoint, and I even had ones that, like, I had a little extendable one that would go off the end of the bay, but the amount of times you got clattered and would fall down, I'm going to stop this now. I'll put a cone
I'll put one on a swing plate sometimes, but angle it away from us.
Yeah.
Because it can be a little bit close at times.
Yeah. But that would be it. And also, I think a target, like when I say target, or a goal as well, I think would be something like, if you're going for a lesson, it's like, okay, well, as you said, during the lesson, there's a start, there's a middle and an end, it's a story. What's that end? What is the end goal? What are we actually trying to achieve? I think a lot of times people can go in and go like, okay, and then there's a little tweak, and you hit some better, but if you have not got the target that you're aiming to out on the field, if you've not got, okay, well, we're trying to achieve, this club head speed, or we're trying to achieve this attack angle, or, whatever it may be, this sentence of strike, things that we can monitor and actually say, well, here's some feedback, here is some actuals that are happening. I think that's a bit of a red flag as well.
Yeah, I think if I think across the sort of few thousand of students I've probably taught by now, I've probably set their goals for them more than they've set the goals for themselves, which I'd like to see that change as a trend, because I'll say to people, why are we here? I just want to get better. Okay, but how are we going to measure that? What classes as success to you? Because you're getting better might just be out driving your mate. You mightn't care about the number on the scorecard. Somebody else is getting better might be, I don't care if I actually strike the golf ball worse if my score gets better.
Yeah.
Which is possible as well. It sounds backwards, but it's very possible to feel like you're playing worse golf, but you become better at scoring, and that student might have a little bit more time out on a golf course, or we might spend a little bit more time talking about, where they tee it up maybe on the tee, or how they play dog legs, or how they approach par fives. There's then a tactical conversation to have.
Yeah.
So if you have a very specific goal, again, you go back to a weight loss journey before. I don't start a weight loss journey and say, just want to get a bit slimmer.
I do.
You start a weight loss
journey
not working. With maybe a target number, don't you? That's why it's not working. You start with a target. I'm X amount of stone now. I want to drop 2.
Yeah.
I'll be very happy when I get there. You might get to there and reassess your goals and say, I'm happy, I'm going to stay the same, or you might say, I want to drop another 1.
Yeah, and it gives you a sort of like, is that achievable? If you're shooting 100, right? I want to shoot 70 by the end of the summer. Yeah. Okay, we've got 6 weeks till then. Probably not going to happen, isn't it? So you can get some realistic things that can be achieved. Okay, well, what do people in that bracket normally do? I should probably try and aim for something like that as well.
And that can lead you to that's obviously the outcome goal would be, I want to shoot 70.
Yeah.
That then leads you, and if your coaches wants to sort of go down the route of making the goals correctly, then that brings the process goals. And the process goals are the things you've just spoke about there. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, look, we're only hitting the middle of the face 3 out of 10 times. If we can make that 7, out of 10 times, we've got more chance if how many 3-putts are we having? Okay, well, if we can make sure we're having no more than 32 putts around, we've got a chance of making that. You can start to really dissect your game and make sure you're on the right track. You're not just saying, I want to shoot 70 and where's the magic?
Yeah, I think as well, it's a little less overwhelming as well then, isn't it? Because it's like say, once you've got that goal and you get your process goals, it's not like, I need to hit every shot perfect to do this. It's like, okay, shave 3 putts off a round. Yeah. Really? Oh, right, okay. Well, yeah, I reckon I could do that because, I only hole 3 of my 15 6-footers that I have. Okay, well, let's just try and make that 5. Oh, yeah, that could be aiming slightly better. Okay, done. I don't need to hit it like 250 dead straight and hit every green and hole every putt then.
No, if you come off a round of golf really frustrated that you're 7 shots more than what you wanted to be, but then all of a sudden you can break that down and say, okay, there was 1 errant tee shot out of bounds, there were 2 3-putts, and there was a duff chip, and I left myself in a bunker once. Yeah. All of a sudden there's 4 small improvements you need to make.
I was just wondering if you'd watched me at Lindrick.
there's 4 small improvements you need to make, as opposed to 1 big catastrophic, how do I get those 7 shots?
Yeah, what happened?
Just find them in the right places.
Yeah, that's it, definitely.
Low-hanging fruit.
Definitely. So, good little things there, definitely having that target, looking at the ball flight, having some goals to work towards. If they're not being set in your golf lessons, I think it's a real time to stop and say, what's going on here? Yeah. Because you're just on a road to nowhere, really, aren't you? Okay, final thing then, you've found your coach, you've met them at the start of the lesson, it's all gone well, you're having some lessons, you sort of notice that you're both in sync, you're in tune, you're doing those things that we're saying, none of the red flags are popping up. Follow-up lessons. How many golf lessons do I need, Tom?
At the end of our first lesson?
Yeah. Or in general, just like, well, how many does it... They're expensive, aren't they? They want you to have hundreds of them.
Again, I think it all depends on the stuff we've talked about. I don't want to keep repeating ourselves, but a lot of it depends on the goal. I think... most of the time, if we get to the end of a good first lesson and we know where we want to be after maybe 3 lessons, we can probably say, look, 3 lessons are going to allow us to change that swing plane a little bit. It's going to feel uncomfortable. Then you'll start finding the middle of the face a little bit more, and we're going to start playing decent golf then. And then in the 3rd lesson, we might do a little bit of competitive practice. We might play some point game systems to make sure the performance is better than it was on the first lesson. If you've got the person who's, as you said before, shooting 100 and wants to get down to 70, then we're in for the long haul, aren't we? So I think at that point you've got to start making smaller, shorter term goals and say, right, let's get to this stage, then let's get to the next stage, and you're probably on a never-ending cycle of lessons, which is no problem, by the way. You mentioned before guys who've been with your dad for 40 years.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to sort of understand the law of diminishing returns as well. Your first 10 lessons, you might go from a handicap at 30 down to 15. And then, I don't know, you might be 65 years old and you're having golf lessons to try and retain your handicap as long as possible, not necessarily decrease your handicap. You might be having lessons because you enjoy the hour with your coach. You've got you love talking about the football, and it's an assisted practice session. Yeah. Something I think is massively underrated. I've thrown an underrated, overrated in here. Yeah. Assisted practice sessions.
Underrated.
Not every lesson needs to be, here's a load of new information.
Yeah.
Here's a swing change. We're not changing your swing. We're practicing. And
I think definitely. I think, and when it comes to, how many do you need? You've also got to look at yourself and go, well, this information that I'm given, or like we go back to the diet, I was given the Weight Watchers plan. Well, did I go and actually put that into plan and watch how many carbs I had that week, and did I cut out my sweets, and did I not have any fizzy drinks? Same with your practice, isn't it? Tom gave me this drill to work on my backswing. Did I actually go to the range 5 times between my next lesson and hit 50 balls, 100 balls, whatever it may be, once a week, twice a week? No. Well, why are you going back for a lesson then? It's going to be the same thing again, because your golf swing, like life, yes, we evolve, but we're creatures of habit, and we're going to do the same thing. So it's a case of finding that sort of happy medium, isn't it? How much practice can you get in? What can you afford to do as well? They are costly things, and it's a case of, okay, well, you don't need to have one every week. You don't need to have one every 2 weeks. It might be 3 weeks allows you 3 practice sessions, 2 rounds of golf, and you think, okay, well, that would be a good yardstick for me to try and implement what I'm doing and go and work back on those things. And then I'll go back to Tom, we'll check, we'll go again.
Yeah.
I think, so it's very much a case I would just avoid the person who's like, you need this.
Yeah. No, completely fair.
Top package every time.
Bullet point all of that 45 minutes worth of conversation we've just done for me.
Yeah.
Just very quickly, sort of bullet point what we're looking for, because we spoke a lot there, and I think there's a few
some really good nuggets,
big things to take out. So what would your takeaways?
Yeah, I think
back to your question, what would your takeaways be from that conversation, Matt?
I think from it, there's those 5 sort of steps that we can walk along, can't we? So, what does a good golf lesson look like, or what do golf lessons look like? I think it's finding that coach. Instagram, word of mouth, finding someone that is relatable to you. You can see the coaching styles, see what they do. Does that work for me? Yeah, great. Okay, I'm going to go and book a lesson with them. Upon meeting the coach, okay, let's be prepared with some information about my golf journey thus far. You might be a new beginner and you don't know anything. I don't know the difference between a wood and a putter, an iron and a wedge. You might be a 5 handicapper who is looking to change their transition. You're feeling that you're getting too static, and I'm hitting a lot of shots where I feel there's not enough yardage. So it might be, I play this course and I always struggle with these holes that you said, with the chap coming in with 3 things. So going in there, you've met them, you've got a load of information that you can give them. They're asking you open questions as well to really paint a good picture about you as a golfer and what it is you think you need to improve on. During your lessons, if they're looking for those ball flight laws, they're looking for, how you move the golf club, how you are as a person as well, what you're open to, what you're receptive to. Do analogies work better for you? Do drills work better for you? Going into their toolbox and having the appropriate thing to help you get better. Couple of those red flags we talked about. If you're going for a golf lesson and there's no looking at the ball flight, are we changing this at the end of the day? If there's no target involved, a little bit different in a simulator, but there's still targets out there at the end of the day. And also, what was that third one we said on that? Oh, goals. What is it we're actually trying to achieve? What are we here for? Yeah. Which again comes probably back to that ball flight or trying to lower your score. And then booking your follow-up lessons, finding out that balance for you. Don't be just thinking, oh, well, I need to have 50 golf lessons and they need to be taken over the next 50 weeks or else I'll never get good. Allow yourself the amount of time to practice, put into work what it is you've been told. Go and practice, go and play, give some feedback to the coach. And as Tom said as well, even assisted practice sessions, some ranges, I know Trafford used to do it, I don't know if they still do, where it would be like a Thursday night, you would turn up and a coach would just be sort of wandering up and down the bays. Another great way, it's not a one-on-one lesson, but it might be just a way for you to get 5 minutes with the coach, say, am I on the right track here for what you've told me? Yeah, great, okay, let's move on. So I think if you're covering those bases, you'll sort of find the package that is right for you, won't you?
Yeah. Yeah,
overall.
I think you've covered everything. It's not a one-size-fits-all.
Oh, God, no, definitely not. And it might just be one lesson.
Yeah.
And you might go back in a year's time. Absolutely fine. But overall, I think, like say, if we follow that footprint, we're going to be on the right track for getting some good stuff out of our golf lessons.
Yeah, definitely.
Happy days. Right.
What else is on the agenda, Matt? You mentioned something about President's Cup before.
President's Cup.
Talk to me. What are your mixed feelings?
What's the point of the President's Cup, Tom?
It's a good golf tournament, isn't it, really?
What, to watch the Americans win every time?
Okay, the result of it biased. I think it'd be harsh to say
13-1-1, I think it was.
Yeah, you're correct. You're right on that. Yeah, it would be... I think it would be harsh to say what's the point.
Well, it does seem like that.
The point is competition, isn't it? It's good competition.
Is it competition?
Good competition.
Well, that's like saying, okay, I'm going to go and, I don't know.
What's the point in Liverpool playing United for the last 4 years?
Well, have you won the last 13 games? No.
But there's a... What's the point in a football team just sitting bottom half of the table all the time?
Yeah, but they're winning some of them, aren't they?
They win the odd game.
Yeah, 50% maybe. They're not getting 13-1-1.
Nah, go on. Well, I think what's the point is a bit of a harsh way of saying it. I think the result is definitely sitting on the the result's obviously on the bias side for the USA. But how will things ever change? How will the rest of the world ever be able to compete if you say, right, you're not allowed to play this competition until you're good enough? Is that what we're saying?
Well, I think the format would need to change, because I say, like, what's the point of it, right? Do the Americans use it as like a base for Ryder Cup, like breeding grounds? Not really.
No.
They opt for a different format. They don't take, like, Keegan Bradley's playing, you could, like, this week, last week, you could argue that was, a good reconnaissance mission. Surely you would have been the vice captain more, because you were going to be the captain, so you'll understand how a captain works and get, like, the whole agenda setting process, the whole team picking process, the whole, running order of the day, how we create morale, instead of, right, I'm going to be playing.
Yeah, I think considering one of the criticisms of the USA team for countless years now has been the way
Gary
they come
Player
together.
was the captain as well. 1, 2, 3 years in a row. We found the
Few years in a
problem.
row.
We found the problem.
Yeah, I think the criticism of the USA team in the Ryder Cup has been their sort of how the team bond, isn't it? How they play together. They all seem to be individuals. That seems to be a criticism. You would think the fact that they do have one extra tournament in the same format, they use it as a trial run, but they don't seem to go, like you say there, they don't seem to maybe learn from it. But would you have said it felt, did you see much of it? Would you have said it felt like a pointless tournament? You definitely couldn't argue it was pointless for the people participating in it, because they were absolutely pumped for it.
They were pumped. Yeah.
The big shame was the 5-0 on day 2, was it? Kind of didn't quite put it to bed, but if that didn't happen, then it would have been a bit more interesting. But when USA go and clear a session 5-0 and go a good chunk ahead, you need a miracle in Medina to happen to bring it back.
And that's only happened twice.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the results here. International team. When did was it?
International team won in 98.
Was it 98?
98, Royal Melbourne Golf Club.
Ah, yes.
And they won 20.5, 11.5.
Right.
Battering. Must have been jet lag for the Americans.
Interesting. I just don't.
And it was tied. It was tied in 2003.
Yeah, it just feels pointless to me. Like, I wasn't pumped up about it. It wasn't like, I'd rather, like, does a mixed event solved it? Like, would we see, because obviously Solheim Cup's great, Curtis Cup's great, or would we be better seeing like a Pro-Am thing? Because we don't have any, well, we used to have the Sevi Trophy, didn't we, where it was Continental Europe versus Great Britain and Ireland.
So are you talking pointless here as a golf fan, or a fan of maybe Europe and the Ryder Cup? And the only reason it's pointless is in the same way as I would say Major League Baseball's pointless. Because personally, to me, it is. And there'd be thousands of people would say, well, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, that's... Well, the New York Yankees, okay. Do they win it every season?
I'd like to know.
Do they win it every season?
I don't know.
No.
Don't think so.
Does the international team lose 98% of the time?
Careful how you respond to this one, Matt. Is the Scottish Premier League pointless?
No.
So how many times have Celtic won it? In a row, Rangers jumped in.
Yeah, Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen are leading at the minute.
But historically, you could have got to a point 10 years in a row and gone.
They didn't win it 10 years in a row, though.
What were their results? You could say, waste of time. This Celtic are always winning it.
Yeah, but that's also like not a 2-horse race, is it? So there's lots of other entities in that. So we've got 2 teams here. It will basically, like, what other sports? It'd be like, well, I'll give you a good example. What happened to the GB&I team when they were losing the Ryder Cup every time?
Yeah, I suppose you could say it's a pointless
What
competition.
happened, Tom?
Changed to Europe. We needed some help.
Exactly, we needed some help. How far are we going down the line to before we need to see these boys need some help?
Need some help. Who's going and playing in their place, though, bringing Europe in?
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I say, like, is it a little bit... Well, we can't bring Europe in, because then it's just like the superheroes unite and we just batter the US every time.
Yeah.
But I just don't get it. Like, I sort of turned on and I watched about 15 minutes and I was like, oh yeah, like there's a game, and I was thinking, could this turn? And I went, don't be stupid.
But is there more to that event? Is there more to the President's Cup than there is to the Wells Fargo Championship?
Yeah, because it's one person who wins that out of 150, Tom.
But it doesn't mean there's no. It doesn't mean there's no event. It doesn't mean there's no.
Yeah, but
there's no
multiple
reason
people,
for
like, it'd be like, say, like, so the only thing that we could relate it to with multiple field thing, I would say, in golf, Tiger's dominance. Tiger turns up and you go, is he going to win? Like, he's got to beat all these people again. Oh my God, he did it again. Amazing.
Yeah.
Not quite the same when you've got a team event. When you go, did they win last year? Yeah. Did they win the year before? Yeah. Did they win the... Yeah. We've got to go back to 1998, you say.
Yeah.
You were about 6.
I was 5.
5, there we go. So when you were 5 years old, that was the last time the international team won.
Yeah.
And there was a nice half.
What's been the closest? What they probably haven't been close results either, have they? Let's see.
No, 18 and 11,
18.5,
17, 12, 16, 4, 19, 11, 2015. Jay has tried
2019 close.
kicking the pooch. 2019.
16-14.
Yeah.
Royal Melbourne again.
Yeah. It's just...
US captain was Tiger, and that got close. International captain was Ernie Els.
It just doesn't... I just don't know any more about it.
I think, like I say, I think pointless is a sort of fair assumption.
It's a fair... Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm glad we agree.
Pointless,
Moving on. Overrated, underrated.
Pointless is a bit harsh, because I don't think... pointless any competition where you can get people to compete on a different type of stage. You've got all of those international players. Wouldn't say this is pointless. If you take them as individuals, you will have individual players there who've maybe gone and got a spark from taking a point off Scotty Scheffler, half a point off Scotty Scheffler. But
do you think the Americans care about it?
They seem to. They seem to care a lot more the way they act.
Yeah.
But then that's, like I say, they've got a decent chance of winning
most
every time.
appearances. Phil Mickelson.
So yeah, I think they care. You can't watch any of that coverage from the weekend and say they don't care.
No.
And I don't think you can watch any of the fans and say that they don't care. And when we see at some point the international team win it again, go and tell me that that's pointless. Go and tell me that that will be pointless, because they'll say that means even more the fact that it was 30 years ago we won it last time and we've broken the mould.
Yeah.
So you're talking about competition, and you can't call a competition where take it as individual people.
Yeah.
Say go and tell all of them that is a pointless competition. Wasting your time there, mate.
Yeah.
Get back to the PGA Tour.
Get back to the PGA Tour, lad. It's just, I don't know what happens with it. I do think, and I think the big thing with it is that the international team, obviously, like when you go down to South Africa, when you're going down to Australia, there's just not enough golf played down that way anyway, like on a big stage. So when it's over there, brilliant.
Yeah. It gives it another platform.
They should just host it over there. There we go, we've solved it.
Ultimately, maybe, yeah. Ultimately, like you say, there's got to be a few more international players from that side of the world coming through.
Yeah.
And maybe the President's Cup being played over there does spark that interest from the juniors who are over there. They get taken to a President's Cup. If you go and find a junior who's over in, when they play, I don't know, Royal Melbourne, they get to go to their first golf tournament with a big buzz, and that sparks them to play golf.
Yeah.
And then they turn into a tour pro. It's done its job.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. # growing the game.
I've won the argument.
Maybe not so. I think something needs to be done by the format. It annoys me when I turn it on and go, well, I know the result.
Yeah. I feel like I know the result. Well, it's the best win ever if it's not.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if I would have been waiting for that.
Do you like rooting against the USA?
I mean, I'd like to see them lose more in the President's Cup, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just an interesting one. I think something needs to be done. About it.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah. Anyway,
something needs to change, but it's not pointless.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's. I'll take that back then. It's not pointless, but it needs changing. Anyway, moving on, Tom. Overrated, underrated.
I feel like we need a little jingle for this section.
Do 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 do. Overrated, underrated.
Okay. Moving on. overrated, underrated. Shall I go first, or are you going first?
You hit us with one.
Okay, I'm going to stick on the coaching theme a little bit.
So overrated lessons.
Terrible idea. Are all these pieces of technology, your flight scopes, your TrackMans, even top tracer stuff, are they overrated or underrated?
If used correctly, underrated.
Okay.
I think too many people use them, don't use them correctly, and they get a little bit overrated. People go, "Oh, I need to," like they'll spout data at you, but have no justification or like use for it. Like obviously we see it on TV now, don't we, with the PGA Tour and stuff, like ball speed was this, and I think they're always elevated anyway. Theory. Well, it just seems strange that they're always near 200. Just weird. So I would say underrated if used correctly. There's a lot that you can do with them.
Yeah.
And if they're in the hands of someone who knows them and used for the right thing, like how a coach uses it versus how a club fitter would use it, two totally different things.
Yep, 100%.
So yeah, I would say underrated, but they would have to be used in the right hands.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm going to hit you with a different one.
Go on.
The halfway house, Tom. Overrated or underrated?
Well, there's not enough of them, I don't think.
Yeah.
So I think I don't think you'll find many players in the world who would say that they're overrated. They'd be like, give me one on every single golf course.
Only if it's a good one, though.
It's got to be a good one. I think by golf clubs, they've got to be underrated. Otherwise, more clubs would have them.
Yeah.
If a golf club, if you go to your local golf course and they haven't got one, then they must be underrated, because if they thought they were worth it, there'd be a lot more.
Would you stop at every one, though?
Possibly not.
How's it underrated then?
I'm trying to think about. I'm trying to put this. I'm trying to just put one on normal golf courses. I suppose you would. You'd grab a drink, or you'd grab a flapjack, a chocolate bar. At least if you remember, you'd probably think, well, I'm going to support this.
Yeah.
Put some money in. There should be one. I would rather there be one at every golf course than one at no golf courses. Put it that way.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one of them, every single golf course would have one.
When you get a good one and it's done right, it's like going to a little tuck shop. You're like, oh, wow, I needed this afternoon. I needed this.
You think of places like Turnberry and the Glen Eagles one in between the Kings and Queens.
Yeah, good.
Great course.
Bearwood Lakes the other day had a really good one.
It's always a sausage roll. The big
sausage roll, nice coffee, and they've got like all the right sauces and everything. Yeah, underrated. Love it.
Have you?
Boom.
Yeah, underrated, because there should be one. Yeah, you'd rather there be one at every golf course.
Yeah.
Have you got any more, or are we on questions?
I'll give you one more.
Go on.
Training aids. Overrated, underrated.
Similar answer, isn't it? Used properly.
Yeah. President's Cup.
Good story for you, though. Good story for you. There was someone I taught a while ago, and you will have seen the hint. You will have definitely seen it. People will have seen it.
I know which story you're going to tell me.
I told you this before.
Yeah.
The hinge trainer. So it's a little L shape, and the
yellow band, yellow bracket.
Yellow bracket goes on your forearm to create the right amount of hinge. Make sure you're not getting a bowed wrist, cup wrist, and also make sure you're not overhinging as well. So we go away, and it was a bit of a battle for this guy. And if he's watching, he'd probably laugh at it now, because we do laugh at it when I see him.
So you think
the movement that he made was sort of his right wrist would always sort of go behind him, elbow would always fold into his chest. Anyone watching this will be able to sort of see the action, but it's very much nearly putting the golf club on your right shoulder.
Yeah, okay. Left arm's not straight at all.
Left arm's not straight.
Or lead arm.
Everything's very, very broken down. Everything's very narrow. So he goes away with the idea to put this hinge trainer onto his left wrist, and we'd done this for 45 minutes straight. It was small movements, bigger movements, small movement, bigger movements. I sent him the link. I said, go and buy this training aid for me. Buy it, put it on your club, practice with it for 3-4 weeks. So understand what you're doing. Yep. Show me what you're doing. Yep. Shows me. We've done it for 45 minutes. Left forearm. Comes back 4 weeks later, putting on his right forearm. So in that case,
overrated.
Maybe that was my communication. If we go back to the start of the session,
terrible lesson from Tom there.
Or it's in that point, it's a very overrated training aid, isn't it?
Yeah.
They've got to be used right. And
I think there's some terrible ones out there.
Can you pick? Have you got a training aid in mind? There are some terrible training aids, by the way.
Yeah.
That don't who invented them? They got thrown on Amazon and they sell, funnily enough.
Yeah.
And they're going to do bad for your swing. Is there a training aid that you can think of that you feel like you can go and put it in the hands of every single golfer in the world, and it would help?
The swing balls, I think, are very good. That go in between your forearms, just creating a bit of connection and width are good.
Yeah.
I won't give it all away. I've actually got a video coming on that.
Okay.
So yeah, check that out on the main channel.
Do you know the one for me on that is, you know, the
the swing guide is.
No, just the tempo trainer, really bendy stick with a ball on the end.
Oh yeah, very good then.
I don't think there's a golfer in the world who you could give that to and it makes them worse at golf.
Yeah.
It's tempo, you can still swing as quick as you want with it under control.
Yeah.
So if you are looking for a training aid and you want to think, well, I don't need instruction with this, the tempo trainer, I think Skills Golf are probably the most popular one you see.
Yeah, 7-iron on it or whatever. Yeah, lag golf and all that.
Very good.
Yeah. Lovely. Right, okay. We're going to finish off with a few questions here, Thomas.
Okay.
Someone's asked lowest score and where.
No.
I'll let you answer that one.
We're not answering it. We're not doing it every week.
Okay.
Go and watch the previous podcast. Start from episode 1. You'll get the question answered twice, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Brilliant. JD Woolard has asked, can I win the competition, please, with a full set of Mizunos? If you don't know what that is, over on the full channel, as soon as we hit 250,000, there is a competition to win a full set of custom-fit Mizuno golf clubs, and also play 9 holes with me at Bearwood to see which ones you will win. And also, if you can't get there, there is another full set of irons to be given away to an international viewer, so make sure you go and check that one out. I'll let you answer this one,
What was
Tom.
the answer to can you win it?
No, it's a random draw, so if you do get
Fraud.
maybe. Liam Taz Tyra, do you believe in changing coaches or should you stick with the same one?
Okay.
We
on
answered that.
topic.
Yeah.
We pretty much answered it, didn't we?
Yeah.
If it's the right thing to do, if you need something fresh, then yes, feel free, go and change coach, but make sure there's good reason. Don't have a little bit of a paddy because you don't like the feeling of something. And go and try something new aimlessly.
Yeah, just don't flip flop. I would say,
exactly.
Right? Okay. If you've been there a year and you feel you're regressing, then yeah, maybe time for a change.
Be open with the coach first as well. Don't just walk out of the lesson and then never come back. Kind of say, look, I'm thinking of going and seeing some other.
I'm leaving you.
I'm thinking of going and get some other advice because I don't like this route and what can we do differently? Or do you think it's a good idea for me to go and see someone else? And that coach might say, yeah, go and get some other ideas.
You can see the rabbit on Wednesday, Friday and Saturday, and I'll bring the dog over every Sunday. Would you come back and play Halifax? I'll caddy, by the way. I wasn't a fan of some of the lines. We are
Lions in Halifax.
Yeah,
Halifax.
I think there was once actually an escaped lion in the Halifax Hills. You'll have to fact check me on that, but who knows? Yes, we are planning on doing an in the red there. So leg side Boris. That'll be cricket, that won't it? You've just lost your caddying privileges for being a cricket fan.
We were about to. Well, we did have one booked, I think, and then there was an event on there, so it will happen at some point.
Yeah. Lost the ability to strike my irons. Keep hitting it out of the heel. Best fix: hit it out the toe.
Hit it out the toe, honestly.
Yeah.
Go back to awareness. Go back to feedback.
Yeah.
Spray your club face. Try your best to hit it out the toe.
Yeah.
And then try and meet in the middle. Or come and see me for a lesson.
Yeah, cause and effect, isn't it? There's many ways that you might be hitting the toe. You might be falling into your actual toes of your feet forward, so you're moving the actual distance closer to the golf ball, so you heel it. You could be throwing it really over the top, heeling it. You could be coming really from the inside. You might have a massively open face. So it's finding what the problem is. But yeah, literally getting a little bit of awareness. People used to stand there looking at you dumbfounded sometimes. Well, I'm hitting out the heel. Okay, we're going to hit it out the toe for a minute. Huh?
I'm paying you for this. It's amazing what hand-eye coordination
yeah,
can
it's
do.
okay, well, figure it out. Come on, how would you do it? And and that way. So yeah, maybe go and try and strike it out the toe for a little bit, and then bring it back to the middle.
Again, keeping it on sort of theme from before. If you're a person who needs to know the reasons behind things, you probably need to go and get yourself a lesson. Yeah. If you just want to stand there and
if it's a recurring problem as well,
if
again.
it's recurring, And if you just you're happy to just not really care whether it's the fact you're coming over the top, and you're happy to just stand there and try and change things, then you'll start hitting out the middle.
Indeed. And final one for us, XX11 Vision says, what's your favourite drill?
Ooh.
I think mine's the Black & Decker Pneumatic 6.0.
Plug-in or battery?
I always go for plug-in, you know.
Plug-in.
Yeah, can't be bothered charging it.
Favourite drill.
I know what mine is. Do you want me to go with mine while
Go
you're
on.
thinking?
Yeah.
I actually did it the other day, and we'll put a little clip on the Instagram of me doing it because I recorded it as well the other day.
Okay.
It's a putting one.
Okay.
What Tiger does: 2 tees either side of the putter, toe and heel, ball in the middle. Get that putter working through it, nice and square. I also put another 2 tees about 1.5 foot out, 2 feet out, that are like a gate that can only fit the ball through.
Yeah.
So generally, I'll start on a straight putt doing it, then I'll move to like right to left, left to right, so it helps me get that starting line correct with the putt, and you'd be amazed how well you'll putt.
Yeah.
I'll religiously do this like every couple of weeks, just bang a couple of down, even if it's like 10 putts, just think bang bang, there you go, and it's like a little calibration. You go, right, I'm starting it online, and when you go out that round that you've done it, if you do it on the putting green before you go out, you just feel so good and wholesome. And then if I was thinking of swing ones are funny, aren't they? Because they're all specific, so it depends what we're trying to fix. So I'm not gonna go down there.
No, I was just thinking of sort of common ones, and you mentioned the ball between the arms before. That's quite a common one that gets used because it's amazing how many people will ruin the golf swing in the takeaway.
Yeah.
So ball between the arms is, I wouldn't necessarily call it my favourite. I'm just thinking of popular drills. And yeah, like I say, I don't want to massively advise on them because it depends who's swinging the golf club.
It's all relative, isn't it? But yeah, anything, I think as long as I think drills that involve alignment canes are generally good as well. Getting your swing on plane, do you know what?
Put an alignment stick on the floor.
I was going to say, do you know what a drill that is great? Getting set up square, just putting the train track down. Yeah. One for your ball, one for your feet, right, am I square? Because the amount of people that don't, and also don't know how to aim, is mind-blowing. So yeah, that's probably the one that everyone could do and should do. You see all the pros do it when they're warming up, so yeah, that would be a drill that you need to do.
Agreed.
Tom, I think a very good one there.
Was a very good podcast.
We've hopefully helped debunk the golf swing myth a little bit, and can get people hopefully having some more lessons and improving their golf along the way and enjoying it.
I know the winter has now kind of come upon us with the rain. Don't let the clubs go in the garage until next April and then have an emergency lesson. Go and get some in now. Go and make a plan now, figure it out, and then if you want to say bye to your coach next April because you're going to play.
Sorry, that was actually one of the questions. How should we work on our game during the winter? I'll only be playing maybe once or twice pre-March. Yeah, go for a lesson now, get a plan in place, and then go to the range.
Set some goals for April so you don't start playing in April and you don't start playing well till August. Yeah. And then it starts raining again.
Yeah, damn it.
Get playing well in April because you've practiced through the winter.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you for listening. If you are listening, make sure that you leave us a review on the appropriate channels, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to the Matt Fryer Golf Podcast channel. Follow us on our socials, info@mattfryergolf.co.uk for any questions, any overrated, underrateds. And we will see you next. We'll be doing one from St Andrews next week.
We will.
Yeah. Might be out a day later. Might be out a day late. Yeah. But, look forward to it.
Yeah, that's next week.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not raining.
Hopefully.
Yeah. See you in the next one.
See you next week.